Hey, what is up everyone? This is Time Fast and today we're gonna be taking a look at this specific model kit, which is the Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex. I mean Gundam Barbatos Lupus. Sorry, I got too used to saying that name. Let's just get into this.
Psycho Batu!
As usual, I'm gonna take the box out of the frame and include the finished model kit. Now, what can I say about the Barbatos Lupus that has not been said before? Well, with the Gundam Barbatos Lupus that you see here, it's more or less an upgraded version for the Barbatos, a proper upgrade, because in the first season it was badly damaged and the upgrades that we got for it were mostly just different armor parts for it and just snapped onto it. But with this, the Barbatos has gone through a lot of changes. Now let's get a closer look. As you can see here, the details of the Barbatos have been highlighted by me, and yeah, I will admit the panel lines are just plain shit from here. In fact, I do remember a comment saying my panel lines are crappy, which I do admit. I admit that my panel lines are crappy even here, but at least I tried to paint these toes in silver. The details do not stop as you get these panel lines at the back as well, kind of unnecessary, but then again, highly appreciated. Special mention has to go to these emblems here because they are made of plastic and not stickers, which brings me to my next topic. Now, being a Iron Blooded Orphans high grade, stickers are always going to be an issue, as apparent with this sticker sheet here. Again, it's pretty big, but unlike the original Barbatos, these are big and not really that bad. Special mention has to go to these stickers on the kneecaps here. They are not just thin sheets, they are just one big triangular piece, which I pretty much prefer over the original ones. And of course, the details here, well, not necessarily need to be used with stickers aside from the eyes and the reflective stickers on the shins here. You can do that with your own painting skills, but as a person who doesn't paint, I went with this. And now, let's talk about the size comparisons, because obviously we need to address the size of this thing. Starting off small with Lego Spider-Man and Petitrits Kyrielight. As you can see, the Barbatos is big, and of course it's not a fair comparison when you don't address the size with normal high grades. So let's just do that. So here he is side by side with the high grade revive of the RX-78-2, and as you can see, the Barbatos Lupus might be, because I don't have it, might be the same height as the new Gundam. I could be wrong, but it is higher than the RX-78-2. And it almost is the same height as entry grade Ultraman Zero, which means yes, the Barbatos is one of those larger mobile suits that you get with this kind of line. And finally, a size comparison next to the original high-grade Gundam Barbatos HGIBO 001. As you can see, it is higher than the original Barbatos. And as you can see here, even though they are higher, this is a fun fact, they both share the same inner frame. And the difference being is that Barbatos Lupus has bigger feet and longer arms due to extra parts in here. And the rest is kind of the same, which does raise a question, will this thing be as worse as that? The correct answer is yes, but also no. Yes, because there are some things good with this. This is a reissue of the original, so it has the blue Bandai logo. And this thing, I've heard many people say this thing lasts longer compared to bullshit. Anyway, please don't attack me. I love the Barbatos design, but the solidity is what makes it not the best, which is why the Barbatos Lupus is my favorite among the Barbatos designs. Seriously, nobody wants you, get the fuck out of here. Articulation wise on the Barbatos Lupus is pretty much the same as the original Barbatos. That being, the head is on a double ball joint, it can look up and down, but unlike the original Barbatos, this is not as stiff, so it can move freely, rotate all the way around. The shoulders are connected to a poly cap, so they move up, and the shoulder pads can move up as well on a hinge, and this red part can move out slightly to give you more range with the arm so that it moves out. Pretty cool, appreciated. A bicep cut, bend at the elbow on a single joint, but it gives you more than 9 degrees, which is appreciated. Hands are on ball joints, so they move all the way around if you wanted to. The waist is on a combination of a hinge in here and a ball joint there, so you get this rotation here and the slight ab crunch if you can make it out there. Unfortunately, the ball joint likes to pop off easily, and as you can see, I put something in there so that the ball joint stays in there, but the problem was this peg also wanting to fall off. So I top coated this with silver paint, and it does make it a little bit stable, doesn't want to flare around like it used to, but that's something to note. The backpack, of course, nothing moves here except this thruster, which is pretty cool, just like the original Barbatos. The side skirts, they're on a swivel. If you want to swivel them forward, if you want backwards, it also can. And outwards movement, I do recommend not doing that because it might pop off. And this piece right here does swivel slightly, but it's hard to access, so I recommend you do not do that because it will get stuck. And then the front skirts, well, the front skirts, they are movable and they can be separated properly, unlike the original Barbatos. And then again, I won't try that because I don't want to risk it. With how limited the front skirts can move up, the legs can only move up to here, which is not the best, but then again, it could be worse. I mean, you could always cheat if you wanted to. And then moving back is limited by the back skirt. For outwards movement, you can get it, although the side skirt again likes to impede movement, so be careful. But thigh rotation is pretty dang great in here. The bend at the knee, double jointed, does all the way around, pretty good. And then the feet is pretty much the standard of the Iron-Blooded Orphans. Can move up this far with this extra toe joint moving down, up and down. Backwards, not much due to this armor piece here. The foot guard, I would like to call this, can move. It can do rotation, but not all the way around because the armor blocks everything. And then of course, the circular joint in there, which allows to get some pivot, but on mine it's really tight, so I have to be really careful not to snap anything. But otherwise, articulation on the Barbatos Lupus is pretty dang good. To start the accessories, unlike the other Iron-Blooded Orphans line, which you require to buy option sets, the Barbatos Lupus does include these angled hands, which can be used to grab any weapon you like. This has a ball joint and it's sculpted in an angle, but I have to admit, the angled arms can be a little bit loose, so yeah, be careful with that. I'll demonstrate them the use after this. And then, for other accessories, you do get these pair of arms here. Now, if these look familiar, that's because they're basically the same as the original Barbatos' arms, the sub arms, but these have an extra swivel and they plug into the backpack. And while I mentioned the backpack, these clips here are there for a reason, but you gotta remove these first so that these sub arms can be used in the ball joint, which then plugs into this slot in here. And from what I know, the waist just popped off. From what I know, these things can use those other weapons with the Iron-Blooded Orphans line, so yeah, good on that. Of course, what's a Gundam without a weapon? And you do get this included, which is the giant sword mace. Now, I don't call this a mace per se, I call it like a giant Excalibur because that's much more accurate. And it is bigger than the Barbatos, and equipping it is simple. And by simple, I mean you have to take off the back of the hand, putting it in there and just reclosing, reattaching, and yeah, just plug it into the hand. And it does look pretty cool. Of course, this is a circular handle in a square hole, so of course it's not gonna stay in any pose. If you try hard enough, you will. And overall, it's okay. And with that angled hand, of course you can get much more better poses, but due to the stability of the joints, it may sag You can lock it up, but then again, this will start to be loose, so yeah, be careful when posing this thing. And while posing on the ground is not that big of an issue because the feet can stay flat, if you find any difficulty, you do get this tiny piece that connects to the crotch of the Barbatos, so you can connect it to an action base. Just like so. So that is it for the review of the high-grade Barbatos Lupus. So what is the entire verdict? Well, aesthetically, physically, and almost everything in between, it does improve over what this thing wanted to be. Of course, this being the first production and this being the upgrade, of course, as expected. But the biggest thing is that although these two suffer the same thing, which is stickers and not painted plastic correctly, the Lupus is much more superior compared to this lipstick Cheeto here. And overall it's trash, and if you've seen the review, you know exactly what I thought about this. Sure, on my copy here, I did sloppy painting, sloppy panel lines, but that does not detract the stability and the points that this thing got over this. And when you look at these two side by side, you might be thinking that the Lupus is expensive and much more higher quality compared to this. Well, high quality it is, but the price of this thing is actually the same price as the original Barbatos. Both of these are 1,000 yen, which is a pretty good price for this kind of quality and design. So overall, if you're willing to spend 1,000 yen, if you're willing to collect the Iron Blooded Orphans line, in fact, go for it and try to skip on this because it's not the best. If you really like it, then maybe you would, but for Iron Blooded Orphans casualists and just enjoyers, not hardcore fans, yes, you know who I'm mentioning right now, go for this. This is much more better compared to this. Overall, if you want a Lupus, go get it. It's highly recommended by everyone. With that being said, I'll see you next time. Dear Forrest Diego, if you're watching this, take note that I watch Iron Blooded Orphans and I enjoy it. However, you as a person are just totally the worst. And you can't fight me when I say this is no match for this.